Hello and welcome to GeekVerse Sidequest, your weekly stop for video game news, reviews, and more here on the GeekVerse Podcast Network. I'm your host, the Tyrant, Dylan Musk, and I have with me the mentor, Taylor Field, to talk about some Assassin's Creed tonight, which I'm sure is very exciting for you. How are you doing tonight?
Doing very good. Happy to be here. Feels like a Geeks Creed successor.
I was gonna
kind of
say,
like...
can we call this a crossover? Are you okay with that?
Oh yeah, please do, please do. Yeah.
All right.
I won't lie. I did probe Ruben. I saw on the calendar. I saw Ruben's name, so I was like, Ruben, are you getting it? Are you getting it? Sidequest. He's like, I just don't have the time. So
Oh, it would have been
I
fun to have
tried.
him on, but
Yeah, but I'm doing good.
No, I am excited to be revitalizing Geeks Creed here a little bit. We'll get into Assassin's Creed a little bit later on. Just a couple other small topics for today, but that's what this episode's mostly going to be about. Is all about Mirage. Just a little looking forward to the rest of this month. Next week, Kirkland and Travis will be taking over for Sidequest, and they are going to be doing their review of Spider-Man 2. So that is very exciting. Reviews for that are out now. So it's coming out in just a few short days. And then Mario Wonder is going to be a review the week after. And then I think the week after that is going to be Alan Wake 2. I think I might be the only one playing Alan Wake 2, so I'll get one of you guys on here and talk with me about it. So there you go. Next 3 weeks is going to be a bunch of reviews, and then we'll bring in other news, games we've been playing, that sort of thing. I think that's more or less it. Check out Patreon to get episodes early and ad-free. Join our Discord for discussion on all these games and all this other stuff. Leave a review, especially on that SideQuest feed. Helps us out quite a bit. And you can check out the main feeds. We're reviewing Loki. We're doing newscasts. We're doing retrospectives right now for X-Men. Those things are releasing. So a lot of good stuff to check out at the moment. I want to start this off by doing a check-in with the video game draft. So we did a recap of kind of all the drafts on a newscast, I want to say a month ago. And so two people, Travis and Kirkland, had their finalized game lists. So we already kind of knew how that was gonna square away. Travis up there with 408 points. Kirkland had him beat though at 426 points. Travis's big downfall, of course, is Redfall, which just tanked on the Metacritic there for him. And then since then, I'm still kind of waiting in the wings here. Mario Wonder's on my list, so obviously Metacritic's going to drop for that in just a few short days. I think I might be out of it though, because Hollow Knight Silksong still doesn't have a release date, and it's looking like it's just not coming out this year. If it does, I think there's still a chance, because I think I'm going to hold this. I lost the draft last year, but I maintain that last year I had the highest average of my games that did release. I just got screwed over by things getting delayed. Might happen again this year, but I at the moment I still have the highest average. So there's a chance if Hollow Knight does come out that I could squeak into first place there. But a big development for you, Taylor, is that in the last few weeks, you because before this you had Street Fighter 6 and Pikmin 4, but in the last few weeks, Spider-Man 2, those Metacritic, those numbers are out now. Forza Motorsport and Assassin's Creed Mirage were all on your list, and all of those are out now. So we have your final list, and everything is looking pretty good. You have officially overtaken Kirkland Patzer and are sitting in the first place position with 433 points. So you're beating him by just 7 points. You guys have both very similar things. I guess Kirkland's lowest is 78 with System Shock. Your lowest would be Assassin's Creed Mirage with 78 as well, though. But you just have a 92, a 91, 87, 85. So just really nice high 80s, low 90s numbers. Just a really, really clean average. So yeah, how does that feel right now? Honestly, I'd say right now you have it in the bag, because I just don't think Hollow Knight's coming out. So I think you might be winning this thing. It's not official yet, but it's looking good.
I love that. Coming on hot off that movie box office draft, and now this.
It's good to hear.
I was nervous, and I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure where I was going to end up with this, because I got bopped last year. I mean, the games I picked just were not doing it for me.
You picked a couple freakish picks in there, and we didn't have the repicking at the time. So, this year's definitely more legit, and you're winning it. So it's all good stuff for you.
Yeah, I think it'll catch Kirkland off by surprise.
I
he's
didn't
used to that first slot.
I wanted to have this discussion with you before I dropped it in our chat, but I am curious to get his reactions. And Travis is, I guarantee he's going to throw Redfall on it. He's going to be like, fuck Redfall again. Because every time it comes up, he just wants to shit on it, which is fair. Redfall actually just got a huge patch finally where they got 60 frames in there and all that stuff. But I don't think we're going to be talking about that much today. But, shouts to Redfall. Maybe that number could climb by a couple points now that it's got some of those updates in there. But yes, congratulations to you. And then the other thing I want to shout out is that this news finally went through, that the Activision Blizzard acquisition from Xbox, which has taken forever. I feel like we talked about that so long ago, but it's finally officially done. It's in the bag. Activision and Blizzard are a part of Microsoft now. So I wanted to shout out the Out of Mana episode that me and you did last year, where when that acquisition was first coming through, we did a potential platform fighter roster, a Smash clone, you could say, for Xbox, what that would look like, especially with all that new IP being infused from Activision. So very fun discussion. So everyone should go back and check out that Out of Mana episode if you missed it. But yeah, that's, as a big Xbox gamer for yourself and for me, that's my main console right now. Exciting stuff to have a bunch of new games potentially coming in here. How long do you think it'll be before we get like the first drop of Activision stuff on Game Pass?
I feel like they've spoken to this already, but I could see 6 months and we start getting some older Activision titles dropping on Games Pass.
You think it'll be 6 months, hey? Not any.
I think
sooner
so. I
than
mean, the games are ready to go for the most part. There's such a
Yeah.
huge library to source from, so I could see 6 months while they throw some older things on there. I don't know if they want to spend the time and money to upscale or boost anything.
Yeah, there's
up.
hundreds of things in the back catalog if they want to go
Yeah.
deep down there, right?
Absolutely. But I'm so ecstatic about this. I really am. Just because there's so many titles that, like I mentioned Guitar Hero earlier in the Discord, that they're dead in the water. They're not having anything done with them. And I'd love to be able to play them, because I peruse Value Village in the thrift stores. I see the old guitars and the Guitar Heroes. I'm like, I don't really want to buy an old, like really worn down
Janky
guitar.
one,
Yeah, a janky one. I want something new and fresh and vibrant. So
Yeah, I was surprised when that was your first comment in the Discord chat when that happened, just because I feel like these days people are so anti-peripheral and don't want like big plastic crap in their houses and don't have room for these kind of things. But I mean, I do love Guitar Hero as well, so I'd love to see that. And the CEO of Activision did like name drop Guitar Hero. He says, without this acquisition, like things like Guitar Hero wouldn't be coming back, but now they are. So he specifically name dropped Guitar Hero. Like, I don't know, that was like, maybe he didn't realize that they hadn't officially announced that. He is kind of a dummy from what we've seen in the past. So maybe he just missed the memo, or maybe he was trying to get people hyped. I'm not too sure, but I feel like it might take 6 months, as you mentioned, for like any sort of newer things to hit. Like, for example, whatever this year's Call of Duty is, you're definitely not going to get that day one like right now, but I could see that like dropping in a few months. But I think for some old ass games that are like already up on the Xbox store and you can go purchase them now, I don't see why it would take that long. Like, I'm pretty sure the Bethesda stuff, it was just like within a week after that acquisition where they like infused a bunch of things. I'm pretty sure it was like that quick. So I could see the same being for some of these older things. But once again, I don't think anything new. Like I think they said in some of their announcements that like Call of Duty and Diablo 4, don't expect those on Game Pass this year, but that doesn't mean that like I'm trying to think of what some like I don't know. I guess Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 is a game I've been anxiously waiting for and hoping if this acquisition go through, they drop it on Game Pass. Like I don't know why they would wait for something like that. Like if they have the rights for it, it's in their house. If it's not like in some sort of weird contract with like PS Plus or something like that, I don't see why they couldn't get it on right away.
March 2021, and then starting March 12th, they dropped 20 Bethesda titles.
So obviously the scale of that is like Bethesda's what, like 6 or 7 studios and like one publishing team, whereas this is like 3 different publishing teams, or maybe even more. All these developers, way more. It's the scale of it's obviously way huger. Just look at the amount of money that was dumped into that thing. But yeah, I could still see at least some stuff getting on there right away. So I'm looking forward to checking out some of those weird older things. Things that I don't even know are like part of Activision Blizzard, but just like pop up and I'm like, I wonder what that is. I might as well download it and check it out. And then just nice to have all the new stuff going forward, and maybe some good deals on like, I don't know. I don't really have an interest in jumping into Overwatch 2, but if there was some sick deal where I got a bunch of cool stuff for free, or jump into, I would never buy a new Call of Duty, but I would happily play it on Game Pass, that sort of thing. So I'm excited for some of those things for sure.
It's quite just it's surreal to think that Warcraft, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro are Xbox, Microsoft now. It just doesn't seem like a thing. It's very weird. Yeah,
we talked about it on the Out of Mana episode. Just like Crash and Spyro in particular just felt very weird. Yes, I've always had that PlayStation association. And I feel like Spyro was a big Nintendo thing too in its early days. So I don't know. I guess that's just me personally. I played on my friends like PS1 and 2. That's where I kind of associate those games. But yeah, I'm curious what we'll see for like Crash Insane Trilogy and all in the About Time, that newer one, because I think there might have been some sort of PlayStation partnership to that, maybe a publishing element. But yeah, it'd be cool if some of that stuff just dropped on a Game Pass. So we'll keep an eye on that and talk about. I'm sure the games we've been playing section, I'm sure will be filled with random Activision Blizzard stuff as those things start getting added to that service, and I jump in and check some of those out. But yeah, how about with that, we move on to games we've been playing. So obviously Assassin's Creed, we're going to leave that for the big final main topic of the day. Anything else you've been playing lately? You've been playing more Starfield or playing anything else?
I was wanting to get into some more Starfield because I after I was on the review with you guys, I really went in there and I was doing some side missions, and
Nice.
I got a better ship, just doing a whole bunch of other cool things, really progressed further in the story. And then I just had to think, oh my gosh, they dropped some amazing new stuff in Modern Warfare Warzone,
Yeah.
like the Spawn Battle Pass, and I've been trying to go hard and
Yeah.
get my Spawn skin because he just looks so cool. And then also on top of that, they dropped the Modern Warfare 3 beta. So I was like, oh, well, now I got to try
yeah.
this. So I was dabbling in that, trying to get some unlocks. And
Oh, nice.
the beta I'm on such a high with it because you get map voting back, which is really nice. And the beta is full of classics like Estate, High Rise,
Oh.
Rust. It's just so much
You're talking
nostalgia.
to me. You're talking to me.
Oh, it's so good. It's so wonderful. And so just seeing everything in such a nice upscaled light is beautiful. And the combat, it's very I'd say it's not very, but fairly different from Modern Warfare 2, but it feels like they've really refined MW1, MW2, and I do find like the time to kill is a little faster than an MW2 because I've been playing them like back to back, and it's nice because even though it's a separate download, they're really making it like a hub, because when I go into Modern Warfare 2, in the main menu, they have like Warzone, DMZ, multiplayer, and then here they have like the store, and then they have a tab for the Modern Warfare 3 beta, and it's literally just this all in sync hub for everything, and I like that. And this
Okay.
started back with Modern Warfare 1 when they had you boot it up, you have Modern Warfare 1, you could have like Cold War, Vanguard, Call of Duty, and then Warzone, and they just made this. They're expanding on that. It's making
So is it
things so much
is it just
nicer.
Modern Warfare 3 and 2 that are kind of in this bundle, as you're saying, or is it like other Call of Duty stuff as well?
There's no other Call of Duty stuff in there because it's really like they look at it like Warzone is its own COD, and then you have MW2, and then MW3 is the beta in here, and it's all accessible under one menu when you boot it up. So it's
Is the
very,
full game going to be in that same thing?
yeah, so that's exactly it. So once
cool.
MW3 is fully released, it'll be one in sync thing basically. I'm not sure how it's going to work if I have to uninstall MW2.
Yeah.
But then like it'll still have the same menu and just all be like an intertwined
Right.
hub.
Mega game.
Yeah, it's very weird, but this is just the thing with Call of Duty now. Even the Treyarch zombies, they've been combining that into, and the Cold War zombies and the Vanguard zombies are kind of combining that. They're just merging all the Call of Duties together now. It's crazy.
I didn't even think about zombies, but that's a big thing for me. I've mentioned on Sidequest before that like I just want that one game that has all the zombies things in one place, so I can just buy that. But with this acquisition, once again, all of it will be on Game Pass. So I think I'm gonna go hard on zombies when that stuff comes through. But does that help then if they're bundling these games together? Does that help with like the file size? Because that's a big issue with Call of Duty, is that these games are like 100, 150 gigs. But so if you're bundling them, presumably that makes like the overall package a bit smaller. Because I'm thinking if you had like 2 or 3 CODs on your Xbox Series X basic hard drive, like that would fill up the whole freaking thing. That's how big those games are. So does that help at all that they're kind of bundling them, or is it like a huge 200 gig fucking game file?
Let me tell you, holy shit! When Warzone came out, there was that. I had Modern Warfare 1, and then Cold War came out. I had that, and then Vanguard came out, and I was sitting at like 500 gigs alone of COD
That's
on my
insane,
hard
dude.
drive. It was horrible. Oh my god! So finally, I've noticed a difference with this hub system they put in here. And I could uninstall the other CODs because they were affiliated with Warzone 1. I didn't have to worry about them. But yeah, focusing now on just this hub. MW2 is the only COD I have in here, and whatever I downloaded for the beta, it was not a very large download, obviously because it's a beta. But
Mm-hmm.
if it's just the multiplayer of which is like an update, it could easily be like, oh, here's a 15 gigabyte update to what you've already got installed, and it's not even listed as Modern Warfare 2 in my games and apps now. It's just literally listed as Modern Warfare, and it has the logo
Oh,
of
okay.
Modern
Yeah.
Warfare 3. Or not the logo, but has the coloring from the third game. So it doesn't have a defining logo now. So it
Yeah.
seems
Yeah.
like that. And the reduced downloads, I mean, yeah, bring it on, because 500 gigs is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious how Call of Duty is going to evolve as a series, being under the Xbox header and just being more about the subscriptions. I mean, I guess Call of Duty is one they're going to still want to push as people buying it because they make so much freaking money from that game rather than people just getting it through a service. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that goes forward because eventually it's going to get to a point where you're bundling so many Call of Duty as under one thing that the download size for that is insane, and like something like a Series S can't even install one game on its basic hard drive because it's like too big or something. So, but that's weird to how that happened with Hitman too. They had like Hitman 2016, 2018, and then Hitman 3 in 2021, and then they like made it so that's all under one roof now, World of Assassination, and like that game file was like smaller than the three games like even Hitman 2. It was smaller than just the Hitman 2 game size file. I don't know how they somehow make the game more efficient in that way, but hopefully they can keep doing that with Call of Duty because goddamn, that hard drive space can be brutal.
It is brutal. I want to ask one more thing. And so part of this whole acquisition deal and with Call of Duty, it's a 10-year plan, right? Like of non-exclusivity. Is that how they were doing it?
I forget what the actual number ended up being, but yeah, it's going to be on PlayStation for a variety of years, and then they've confirmed that they're going to put it on Nintendo consoles going forward. So I guess the Switch 2 is in theory powerful
That's
enough, or they're going to
crazy.
make some weaker random SKU that has like 360 era graphics that can like run
That's
on the
crazy.
Switch. And so I don't know if the long-term plan is like if Xbox puts it on Switch and Xbox, then technically they can get away with not putting it on PlayStation and just say fuck you to Sony because Sony
Ooh,
was
that's
very
greasy.
annoying about that whole like acquisition process and in terms of trying to stop it, which wasn't even successful in the long run. But yeah, I'm curious like what they'll end up doing with that. But yeah, I don't think Call of Duty is going to be exclusive, but it's still going to be on Game Pass and it's still going to be like probably early access on Xbox. It's going to be like if you're a Call of Duty player, like get an Xbox. That's the way to go. It's just gonna be you're probably gonna get all sorts of like bonus XP. You're like how they have like all those rewards if you're a subscriber of Game Pass, or you just go in random games, you get like a costume here or there. Probably just gonna be tons of Call of Duty stuff in there, I imagine. So they're just gonna make it like the best version, and then you can still play it on PlayStation, but you're just playing this like worse version. Hopefully, there's still cross-platform play. Like I would hope that's something that
I
they
would think
honor
so.
going forward.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's pretty good.
cross. I'm trying to picture cross-platform like Switch players playing against fucking PC players. I feel like that's like the worst reality. If I was on Switch, I would only try and queue against other Switch players. But I don't know. I don't know if that'll be a huge audience on Switch, even if there's a ton of people that own that console. I mean, who knows if it'll be Switch 1 or just Switch 2 anyway, but
Well, I guess it wasn't. Maybe it was on the Wii U. I know it was definitely on the Wii. I think we did that or tried doing that for the charity stream.
Yeah,
last
some of those
year.
older games have been on those consoles, like when the Wii U, because when the Wii U came out, it was more like it was more of a modern equivalent at that time, whereas the Switch, it's 6 years old now, so it makes sense that it's not able to play these games. But I don't know if there's a single Call of Duty game on the Switch now that I think about it.
I don't think so.
I feel like even when it first came out, it was already outdated for what games like that kind of require on the high end.
And it wouldn't even be necessarily the full game. It'd be a spin-off, like for on the Wii, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, like Someone's Revenge or something, just a knockoff
Sure, yeah, some
spin-off
rinky-dink
version. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Any other games that you want to shout out, or is that kind of been it for you?
There's
I know
one,
that Battle Pass lifestyle, man. Like they don't want you to play anything else, and they incentivize you to only play Call of Duty.
I know.
I've felt that in a couple months in Marvel Snap. Where I'm like, I gotta get out of this mindset because it's just toxic. But
like
I get it.
Modern Warfare 1 days, I was going hard and completing those battle passes, but now like I've toned it down. I'm not. But when I saw this, you get spawn, you get
Yeah.
it's a spawn themed
Certain
one.
months
It's
don't
so
really hit you.
cool. Yeah, and I want to get it, especially because everything's being ported to Modern Warfare 3. I feel like this has so much more weight behind it because I can just carry it over, which is great. But other things that I'll be playing, like I know I haven't played it recently, but I've been trying to set up a time with Ruben. We're playing this Bigfoot game on PC. It's on Steam. It's
Oh
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
4v1 kind of a setup, and they've
Yeah,
been
that game
doing
looks cool.
great updates to it. So that's something that's on
Nice.
the horizon.
Shouts to Cryptic Clues over there. Yeah, I really one game I wanted to talk about today. A couple quick shout outs would be Lamplighters League is this kind of weird real time / turn based tactics game. It's almost like real time. You're stealthing around, climbing up, busting down walls, and then when you get caught in that sequence, it turns into like a turn-based strategy, like XCOM or Midnight Suns or Fire Emblem, whatever. I've only played a little bit of that just at Game Pass recently, but it's got an interesting aesthetic and almost like there's animated cutscenes for the story stuff, and it reminded me of like the original Incredibles in that it had that kind of Pixar style. So it was really interesting, a different sort of setting, but. I want to play more of that game, just kind of dabbled. And then I did check out Forza Motorsport because, of course, it's a Game Pass thing, one of your games on your list there. And yeah, it's just not my kind of racing game. I don't really like the super simmy realistic ones. I'm more into a kart racer or like dirt I like smashing into cars. But if you smash into a car, Forza Motorsport, they get mad at you and ding you time. And I'm like, that's
Do
the
they
worst.
really?
I hate that so much. Like that's all I want to do is smash into opponents in this. And I don't really like racing games that are so realistic that it's kind of built that you're following just the line, and it's like the green arrow, red arrow. It's like, I don't know. I don't even feel like I'm playing the game at that point, but then if you turn that off, you just get destroyed because it's so hard. So it's just not my kind of racing game. So I'm sure it's plenty fine if you're into that kind of thing, but I played it for half an hour and I think that was kind of all I need to put into it. Are you going to check that one out at all since Game Pass pick?
I feel like I would probably download it. I'd probably do a couple races and then never try it again. It's not like I've never really been to that. I'm like you, like I wanna hit things like Need for Speed. Put Need for Speed Most Wanted on there or Underground, and I'm playing that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Because I even like I'd rather go play Forza Horizon. That's more my speed. Or kind of open world, you can go check around, do some random races, and more arcadey in that way. So even all those old games are on Game Pass. I've only played 5, but I definitely would rather go back and check out some old Horizon games than play this one necessarily. But the main game I want to talk about today, and this, it's October. I had a bunch of kind of scary horror games planned to play this month. I talked with Kirkland that I played through the DLC for Resident Evil 4, and then immediately after that, I went in and finally am playing Resident Evil 2 Remake. I picked this up a few months ago on sale for like $10, and I've just been saving it for October, anxiously looking forward to finally checking this thing out because it was like game of the year for a lot of people in 2019 when it came out. I'm really enjoying going through these Resident Evils. I've played 4 now, played through a little bit of 7, but it was too scary, then played 8. Played 5 back in the day and then finished 4 earlier this year, and now I finished 2. So I feel like I'm really kind of quickly getting through this series and becoming a bigger fan of it. But I got to say, going into this game, I had really high expectations just once again because of all those like, oh, this is game of the year, or this is such a great remake of this amazing game that people love from this very storied series. And so I feel like I went in with really high expectations, and also getting hot off of Resident Evil 4 and playing that DLC in particular. The DLC was really cool because it's like in the DLC you play as Ada and you see the story from her perspective, and there's moments in the story where like Ada just pops out of a fucking window and like talks to Leon and then like flies out the same window, and in that DLC like you see exactly what she did in and outside that window and all the way she's traveling on the map. And there's a couple parts that are the same, but they like rejig them in certain ways, or she's going backwards through them. And it filled in so much lore about that world and also more about that character that I was really interested in. And so going into Resident Evil 2, I was really much expecting the same thing because I know you can pick between Claire and Leon and they have 2 separate routes. And I think just to start off with the negative thing, I think I'm pretty disappointed in that element of the game. So I played through the game first as Claire, did that whole playthrough, and then I went through and did the second run playthrough as Leon. And there are changes in the story, but it's pretty much like 85% the exact same game. Like you're going through the same sequences to a point where it doesn't really make any logical sense, and like whatever one you're playing as, like that would be the canon route, but then it makes no sense how the other character like gets around the world because you're solving the same puzzles, you're in the same areas, and it's like, okay, did Claire go through this like before me? And then if she did, like shouldn't she have solved this puzzle that I now have to solve again? And then like all these pieces got moved back to where I had to collect them, and it makes zero logical sense, and that really bothered me, especially once again hot off Resident Evil 4, where that DLC was all about like, here, let's fill in those gaps, and it makes 100%, maybe not 100%, but like mostly logical sense. Whereas I just feel like this breaks your brain in a way that isn't really well done, and it's just really disappointing. I was very much looking forward to it. I was like, man, I played through as Claire. I'm excited to go check out Leon's route, and then yeah, like there's a couple cool story beat changes, but then for the most part, it's like I don't really want to play the exact same game again. It was to a point where I was like 2 hours in, and I was like, man, is this really just going to be the same game? Like, this is shocking to me that that people praise this game so much, considering seems like such a half-assed, like multiple route story. I guess that really was the main thing. So I like was looking through a walkthrough, and I honestly just spoiled myself on the rest of the route because I'm like, what are the differences? And I was like, okay, there's a couple things that I want to see, but like I don't know if I want to play the whole game again. So I put it down for like a night, and then I came back the next day. I'm like, you know what? I do want to see those story beats. So I ended up going through, and I did finish Leon's playthrough. So I did see both the routes, and I'm glad I did because you do actually get like the true ending when you do that. The first game when I played through it felt like a very abrupt ending, but this had a much more fulfilling sort of situation. And it was cool to see those other things. And then once again, that character of Ada from Resident Evil 4, who I love, she's like a big part of Leon's route. And you even get to play as her at one sequence. And when I played through as Claire, Ada was not in the game whatsoever. So it's like, wow, she's not even in this. And then the same would be true for Leon. Like there's another character, Cherry or Sherry, I guess, is this little kid that Claire's helping. You see her at the very end of the game pretty much. But other than that, she's not in the game at all. So you're kind of missing out on certain characters and storylines and like certain sequences. Like there's one sequence where you play as Sherry, the kid, and you're like in some scary guy's house and you have to like break out of the house. But if you're playing Leon's route, you don't even do that sequence at all. So some interesting changes there, but I just wish the broad strokes weren't the exact same game with like, okay, they move like this key to this room and like Leon gets different weapons. So that's cool. It does feel somewhat different, but not really different enough to really fully justify that full second playthrough. And I almost wish those sequences were just like skipped through and I could just get the story beats that I wanted without actually having to like go through the process of spending 2 hours getting through this police station again, you know? Yeah. I'm trying to think what else I want to say about this one, but I guess, you know, the other weird thing with this is like this game is set in Raccoon City, which I've played some other Resident Evil stuff now, and that's always mentioned, but I've never actually played a Resident Evil game that takes place in Raccoon City. And I was hoping that the game would have me going through the streets, fighting zombies, like, you know, going through the really rainy city streets. But you like barely do that in this game. You're mostly like inside buildings. You're like inside the police station, which is a really cool. It's like at one point was an old like museum, and now it's a police station. So you have like all these weird statues and stuff that you wouldn't normally find in this kind of setting. And then you go through and there's like, you know, the classic sewer section, the classic lab section, which I feel like now that I've played a bunch of Resident Evil, these kind of locations appear again and again. But yeah, I just wanted to go through the streets. I wanted to do more of that. And I feel like you're barely outside in this game. So I think Resident Evil 3 and maybe 1 also take place in Raccoon City. So I think 3 is the next one I'm going to pick up. And I hope it's a little bit more of that. But I got to say, the locations are really well designed, like really great level design, really good. Like where you find one new tool and then it unlocks these 2 rooms. Then one of the tools you find in that room unlocks like this thing that you had just gone through, and really, really smart interlayered kind of design there. So I had a good time with it. I was just a little let down by the, I guess, second playthrough aspect of the game. And I think it would definitely sit below 4, below 8 for me in terms of overall enjoyment, but still a solid game. And I feel like this year, no one's like, people were talking about Resident Evil 4 when it first came out, but now I feel like it's not even in the Game of the Year conversation just because it's such a heavy year. But it's too bad to me because I feel like Resident Evil 4 is like way better than 2, and that one got so much praise in that year just because of context. And maybe it's not as surprising anymore because we've seen these remakes for all these years, and now people are like, oh, I know what this remake's going to be. And maybe I just played them in a different order too, and that has something to do with it. But I just feel like Resident Evil 4 is really good, and not that I like other people need to praise it more than it already has been, but specifically the remake is really good, and the DLC was great. So there you go. There's my update on my Resident Evil history and playthrough at this point.
Is Nemesis in Resident Evil 2, or is it Mr. X?
It's a character called Tyrant, who I think might also be Mr. X, but they don't really refer to him as that. They refer to him as Tyrant in the game, but like on walkthroughs, I saw when I was going through those walkthroughs, they would refer to him as Mr. X. So I don't know if it's the same character and he has like different names, but I swear, and all the time I played in the game, he was only referred to as Tyrant, which is a great system. Who's just like this big bad that you can't kill, and he constantly like is chasing you in these sequences.
Oh.
And that was, I got to give credit to the second playthrough in that thing, because he's kind of mostly in the first half, I guess, of the game when I played through as Claire. But in the second route, he'd pop up in places that I had not seen him in before. And that was like, oh shit, I did not think this place seems so small and tight and narrow. How could I possibly outrun him in this area, but you still end up doing it somehow? And I guess also I should quickly show this. So you have that sequence as Ada. That was a very disappointing sequence for me, because she's not very fun. Like, you have this rinky-dink little device that can like hack things. But in Resident Evil 4 Remake, once again, she's like grappling hook around. She's flying around, super like movement-based character. But in this, she just has like kind of some boring puzzles. But yeah, so I think Mr. X is the guy from Resident Evil 3. But maybe it's the same dude. I mean, not spoiler. He dies in this game, but like, I don't think anyone ever dies in the Resident Evil universe. Like, I've seen main characters at this point get absolutely murked, and then they just come back in the next game, and it's not even explained as far as I know. So yeah, that part of the game though is very scary, and this game was a lot scarier than Resident Evil 4 for me, generally speaking.
Cool.
Yeah. And then I guess, last thing on that is, one thing that seems cool is there's kind of these extra modes. I don't know if you unlock them when you beat the game, or maybe I already had them, I just didn't look. But it's like additional sequences. So, for example, at one point in Leon's route, you come across this father and this daughter. His daughter has been bitten by a zombie, so she's like in that process of turning, kind of a classic zombie movie trope. And it seems like what seems like a short scenario where you play through as the dad character and you do something. I'm guessing it's like half an hour or less than an hour. I don't really know anything about it, but it seems like just some cool, there's like 3 or 4 of these other random little scenarios you can do that maybe those things will fill out the world, and maybe they put me out in the city streets of Raccoon City like I want to be. So I'm going to go back and check those out. So I'm not sick of this game yet, even though I kind of blasted through 2 playthroughs. So yeah, obviously that's a good sign for the game, but I'm hyped that I'm just like becoming a Resident Evil fan. It's a fun, weird series that is very different than I was expecting a few years ago when I'd only played 5 for, the first 20 years of my life, and now I'm checking out all these other weird ones, and there's a lot of just variety between like deep horror to like very goofy action movie to stuff that's kind of somewhere in between. So it's a fun series to be going through.
I wonder if you'll ever get into the films, and I'm not necessarily, I don't think you have to get into like the sexology with Mila Jovovich, because that's definitely its own thing. But I know they tried to make the new one, Welcome to Raccoon City,
The
very
show,
much
right? Or was that a movie?
What's that?
The Netflix one,
Oh,
right?
it was. There was a show and a movie. There was the
Right,
2
okay.
things, right? The movie specifically, they really tried to make that a tribute. I feel like to the games,
Okay.
to like that. Maybe it is to like Resident Evil 2. They were really trying to focus it. Just when things start to really go awry in Raccoon City.
I'm gonna put that. I've been making a movie watch list of things I'm gonna put Resident Evil on here. So like, how many movies is there? Are we talking?
Well, with the Mila films, there's 6, and
that's insane.
I don't have enough knowledge of the games to really make that comparison. I just like those movies. I know Welcome to Raccoon City, that movie was not very received well.
Okay.
I enjoyed the time I spent, but I'm not rushing to rewatch it anytime soon. But I did appreciate how they were trying to make it blend with the games, and certain scenes that you see are like, whoa, this scene's like right out of the game kind of a situation. So that was pretty cool. But,
yeah, no, I definitely will check them out because I'm going to keep going through. Like I said, I think 3 is the next one I'm going to play. I bought it as well when it was on sale a few months ago. Don't know if I'm going to play it this October or right now. It's just because I've played a lot of Resident Evil lately, and I want to check out some other horror stuff. So I might put it on the shelf for a little bit, but I have it downloaded, and I am excited to jump into it. And then, yeah, I think after that, I might go back to Resident Evil 1, and then I really want to check out Code Veronica that has not got a remake, and it's kind of old, but I still want to check it out. And then 6. I think that might be the order I'm going to go in. So very weird order. Like I went, I guess 5, 7, 8, 4, 2, and then I'm going to go 3, 1, 3.5 with Code Veronica. 6 is probably the order I'll go in. So very chaotic order, but honestly, it kind of works. I kind of liked playing Resident Evil 4, seeing Leon and Ada there, and going back to see I presume this is their origin as these characters, first time in the series. So the weird thing though is that these are all the remakes. They kind of look the exact same, like really high fidelity. They look really great, but the voice actors are different in these games. And Ada in this game and in Resident Evil 4 has a very different style of performance. Leon's feels like it could be the same voice actor. This one just feels like a bit more like first day on the job, like rookie, and like more childish, I guess, even though he's like a grown man. So that one I can forgive, but Ada, it's throwing me off how different these performances are. I think they're both good. They're just very different, and I just feel like it's a weird thing to like. I can't imagine the voice actors wouldn't want to come back and like do this thing. And she did the other game like 3 or 4 years ago. It just seems weird to me and breaks the continuity a little bit. But hopefully, there's not too much of that going forward.
So your play style is based on interest. Like I'm looking forward to like playing this one before this one. After you beat this
In terms
title,
of my playlist, like in what one I'm going to go to next.
Yeah.
I don't really. I feel like I should honestly probably should just go back to Resident Evil 1 at this point. But I just feel like narratively, it doesn't seem like too much of an issue to go out of order, especially because I already have to a certain extent. I guess 3 are characters I'm not really familiar with, but I think the reason I want to go for that one next is I bought it already and I have it installed, so it's easy to do.
Yeah.
I want to check out Code Veronica because I'm pretty sure you play as Claire in that, so it's like a sequel. It's like probably should have been the sequel to 3 or to 2, which I just played. I actually don't know like anything about 1. I feel like no one ever talks about Resident Evil 1, so I have no idea who the characters are or even what the setting or story is. I also don't know anything about 6. I think Leon's in that game, so I probably for story purposes should go check out his story. But once again, I feel like 1 and 6 are the ones that aren't really talked about very much. Yeah, so I honestly, there is not really much of a rhyme or reason. I think I just knew I want to check out Resident Evil 4 because it's one of those heralded as one of the greatest games of all time, and I wanted to check it out. And then Resident Evil 2 got so much praise when that came out in 2019 that felt like the next logical place to go. But honestly, it's a very chaotic mess in terms of the way I'm going through this series.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but that's been super fun. That is it for me on the games we've been playing. Let's take our first break. When we come back, we will get into Assassin's Creed Mirage. Okay, we are back. I don't even know how to introduce you as an Assassin's Creed guy because you've played every game in the series, probably every spin-off that exists. You've played all these games, I assume, multiple times, or at least complete rolled credits on all of them. You're a big fan of the series, but you've maybe not as much enjoyed the recent turn in terms of the open world, maybe the more fantastical setting of it. Assassin's Creed Mirage is, of course, in theory, going back to the basics. You ran Geeks Creed, an Assassin's Creed podcast. You have a really huge Facebook page for Assassin's Creed that has like 80,000 followers or something.
Oh yeah.
So you're legendary in this community. So yeah, how much have you played and what do you think of Mirage so far?
I've spent like the whole week basically just going at it and just trying to explore and progress and really get a feel for this game. And right out of the gate, I can tell you, to me, it feels so different from Valhalla in a way that I really, really appreciate. Valhalla and Odyssey, while very wonderful time periods and time settings to be indulging in, I did not like how overwhelming they felt. Origins was that step back, like, hey, we're going to really change this dynamic up. And I mean, you've played Origins, and you can compare it to the previous titles you've played in Assassin's Creed, I'm sure.
I think that's the only one I've like legitimately played, to be honest.
Well, that's fair though. I mean, that was them really taking that extra year off because these things were being pumped out like Call of Duty every single year, and that's not easy to do. That's difficult. So. Especially when you're dealing with a game that has so much openness to it. Well, Assassin's Creed has always been a relatively self-contained title with your little world that you're working in, and you beat the game. That's pretty much it. There's not much else you can do when you go back to it.
Right.
They've gone through so many things with multiplayer and this and that, but now they're finally, with this, doing a great tribute to what that original Assassin's Creed was all about. And I bought my Xbox because of Assassin's Creed. I was at my friend's house Christmas Eve, and he was playing Assassin's Creed 1 on his Xbox 360. I was like, man, this game is so amazing for what it is. And so, sure enough, got my Xbox, and I got that and Viva Pinata, but I never touched that one. So
Viva Pinata. Yeah, nice.
And just to be there through all these iterations and see the growth and the change throughout this franchise has been wonderful. But that change in franchise really did not sit well with me, as I already alluded to, once we got to Odyssey, but particularly Valhalla. In retrospect, I can appreciate the story narratives that they tackle with Valhalla because there's a lot of stuff that they wanted to get into. And just kind of getting to explore a character that was introduced in Valhalla, Basim, which is the main assassin in this
Mm-hmm.
game. He was introduced in Valhalla,
Right.
and I believe this game is a few years before Valhalla's events take place. So
I know because I don't think you ever actually maybe finished Valhalla, but you been introduced to him in that game? Did you at least
yeah,
have a yeah? Okay, he's a
yeah,
big
I
part
got
of it, I guess.
he plays a big role in at least getting Eivor into the Creed and kind of
Okay.
introducing him a little bit. And I I just thought like Basim was just he's just an assassin in this world because there's always many of them, but I didn't think anything else of it. And so them to kind of pick a game and build it off of this character, I thought was really interesting, and I really am connecting with this character, and that is huge for me because I've not
Mm-hmm.
connected with the main assassin really probably since Ezio from Assassin's Creed 2. He really hit home for me. And there's other characters where I can get on board with and I can really follow along with their story and their development, but nothing like Ezio. And so for Basim here, I'm really engulfed in what's going on. I will say the downside for me was how fast paced the start of this game was, and I think it's just because hey, we know people want to get into this old school type of Assassin's Creed game, so let's just get you going. But am I allowed to go into spoilers? Am I allowed to beat around the bush, or what should I do?
I think let's break it open. Go for it.
Okay, okay.
Spoiler warning, broken down. This game's been out for like a week or two or something at this point, so I think go for it.
So it starts off you're just basically a thief, and you got a girl that you're running crimes with, pickpockets, that kind of stuff. And when you basically are doing these jobs for the assassins, the hidden ones, and you learn that you never really get to meet the hidden ones, but you're just running jobs for them and stealing, getting information. You're not an assassin, but you're just a thief working for them. Uh, and I thought that was really, really cool. And so something, of course, happens where you go to get some information. Is your partner does something they shouldn't have, and it results in this person being killed. This person is one of the rulers of the city you're in, and this person getting murdered. You take the blame for it, not intentionally, but it's painted as like, oh, you're the murderer, and that's not good. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is terrible. And Basim is just trying to deal with this and is super pissed at his friend for what she did. And so in the wake of this, Basim gets recruited into the assassins. The assassin mentor, why can't I remember her name? I'm drawing a blank. She's the mentor of the assassins here, though, and she basically sees you and helps you escape and brings you in. Not before, of course. Every assassin has to go through some moment of pain
Mm.
and grief. He sees that as punishment for this individual, this high society individual being killed. People in his village, I think a lot of them were kids too, were like hung and just
Oh my
strapped up. Like there
god.
were dozens of them all over. And he was like, had this moment like, he was freaking out. And that's the assassin moment. That's what really is
Mm.
that pushing point for these characters.
Sure.
This was all really expedited and really rushed. So
Okay.
it was hard to kind of be there. Unlike Assassin's Creed 2, you get to take time with it. So you go through these missions as a thief. You get recruited into the Assassins Guild, the Hidden Ones, and then after you escape the city to join the Assassins, you do a couple very small objectives for people in the Assassins camp. And this is time jump like 6 months ahead now. And you're doing a
Okay.
couple missions in their camp and getting, I guess, not really like a tutorial, just kind of learning some story points. And then it jumps another few weeks ahead as you venture off to your next location, and you've been indoctrinated, and you actually are like, you get your finger cut off and you are now an assassin. So expedited, really, really just was not a fan of that. I
Mm.
wanted to take more time and explore being in this assassin camp. There were multiple mentors here. There were assassins training. There was in like this cool canyon. I'm confident, you can go back there.
Okay.
I've been so invested in other elements. I haven't gone back to this area. I've been building bureaus and stuff like that, and in the cities here. But I wanted to spend more time initially in this area.
Is there like animus stuff? Are they still doing that in Assassin's Creed these days, or they
If
kind of
there
just
is,
abandoned that element?
If there is, I haven't gotten to it. They
Okay.
are still doing it, to my knowledge, but it's very loose. So you'll execute a kill, and then you're in that like in between zone where you've done the kill, and the person's body is lying there, and then you'll see like animus static, and you'll hear a voice talking outside, but
Okay.
then you
So they're hinting
continue
at it right
on.
now.
Yeah, the stuff like that. In this case, it's not animus related, but it's a genie is what they call it. So when you do like a kill, there's like this demon like shadow, like it's a genie essentially, and it's
Hmm.
haunting Basim. And this has been a component of the story that I'm really thankful for, because I didn't know a lot about sages, and sages in Assassin's Creed were introduced back in Black Flag with Bartholomew Roberts. And so you're learning that there's lots of these sages out there. And from my knowledge on a sage in Assassin's Creed lore, bear with me, this is going deep. You have the Isu, and these are the ones that came before. That's the ones that made the Apple of Eden, the artifacts, all that stuff. They're the ones who made humanity in the Assassin's Creed universe. And so when they were at their all power mighty, they were doing genetic experiments on humans, and some of them were splicing their DNA with them, and even, I don't want to say like consciousness, but it's kind of like reincarnation, you could say. They learned how to basically have memories keep trickling down, hence the animus works so well with human
Right.
beings. But uh, you have so many characters that are experiencing memories of thousands and thousands of years ago, and that's what sages are, because they are reincarnations of these former high powerful people that of this other civilization that existed. So in Basim's case, he is a sage,
Mm.
and I'm pretty sure that he is the reincarnation of Loki, and this is stuff that you learn in Valhalla, which is just super crazy to really contemplate. But
Hmm.
it gets so in depth with the kind of narrative that they're exploring, and yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful story so far. I just love Ben Bassem's sincerity and just him as a character and everything he's been going through and his tribulations, and just yeah, he's just a great character.
That's awesome. Uh, would you compare this most to Assassin's Creed 1, 2? Like, where do you think this is closest to it, comparing it to the rest of the series?
I Story wise, I would say it's like expedited Assassin's Creed 2. Maybe I would say though, I want to
Just the
say
whole
it's
package, like combining gameplay and story, and
yeah, the gameplay feels very different, honestly, from Valhalla and Odyssey and Origins. Obviously, Origins
yeah,
being the intro to a new
right.
changed gameplay combat system. Um, I guess I'd probably go Assassin's Creed 2. The combat system is very simple, like really, really simple. And what used to be like, hey, okay, you have your bumpers and you could swap your shield and your gear, everything like that. Maybe that does feel more like Assassin's Creed 1 in retrospect, because you have your parrying knife, your dagger,
Hmm.
you have your sword, you have your wrist blade, which I'm not using it in combat, just for assassinations, but you have
Yeah.
your throwing knives, and you have your smoke bombs, and you have other different pieces of equipment. Uh, you, the combat system is not like, as I said, Valhalla and Odyssey. You're just the guy comes into attack, you parry, you hit the left bumper to parry. Once you parry, he's like stunned, you hit right bumper and you basically insta kill him. Other than that, you're just like hitting the bumper and swipe, 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 like slashing,
Gotcha.
slashing, which is okay. You have dodges that are involved now too, which very much again pulled from Odyssey, Origins, and Valhalla. I guess it feels like a combined combat
Hmm.
style from.
It sounds like they're kind of going back to basics in a way. So is
Mhm.
that a good thing for combat in this case, or does it feel bare bones in 2023 to have this kind of moveset?
I Ugh, I feel like it is a little bare bones. I would like
Okay.
a little bit more finesse. I mean, you're playing as an assassin. I like to be able to customize how I'm doing
Yeah.
things a little bit more. And I get it. Like, you can get your swords, you can upgrade your swords and that sort of stuff. But I'm hoping eventually I can get to the point where I don't know if there is an unlock where I can change up my main primary combat weapon. Because Assassin's
Right.
Creed 2, you could use your wrist blades
Oh, okay.
as swords, and when people come in at you and fight you, you could parry, and you get those
Yeah.
cool killing animations as you could do, like you execute them, which they've kept the killing animations, which is very cool. uh Another thing that is very interesting is the focus ability, and this is very new to me because with focusing, you like Red Dead Redemption, actually. That's a good example where you focus and you highlight, like, okay, like five guys,
Yeah.
and you're like, bam, 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 bam. So in this case, it's Assassin's Creed style. So you focus, you highlight like three dudes, and then when you execute, you go in and you immediately like appear with the one guy, assassinate, you disappear, appear at the next guy,
That's cool.
assassinate,
Yeah.
disappear, and appear at the third, and assassinate. So it's like a consecutive kill
Yeah, a
setup,
little
which,
combo. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, so very, very new. That was definitely not in Valhalla to my knowledge, but it's definitely welcome because in certain situations there's so many guys, and it helps kind of trim the herd.
Hmm. Is there like RPG stuff in this game, like skill trees and whatnot? Because I feel like that was an element that and I could be wrong about this, but I feel like that was something more with like Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla. They kind of went maybe not overboard with those things, but went more into those because that's more like classic things of games the last few years. That's like kind of more common.
Yeah, they felt more intense in those previous iterations. This time around, it's kind of like two versions of a skill tree, I guess you could say, because you have equipment one, and then you have your character one. Your character
Hmm.
one, you have three branches, and you can invest your points into have like different things. Like, oh, this will what's an
Stealth kills
example?
like half a second quicker or something like that.
Stuff
Kind of
like
thing. Yeah.
that. Yeah, less falling damage, yada yada yada, all those kinds of things. And then you have your equipment skill trees where from how I've been experiencing this, you pick like one out of three options. So with my throwing knives, for example, you have like you get higher levels and you have four panels, and in each panel there's three different options. And so the first panel that you have unlocked, you can choose to have longer, like a charge your throwing knife and throw it to do more damage. You can carry one extra throwing knife, or your throwing knife will have like a poison tip to it. And then
Mm.
you can pick one of those, and then eventually you get the next tier underneath
Yeah,
unlock,
yeah,
and that
yeah.
one could be like another more add-ons towards
Right.
your throwing knives, and then you can mix and match whenever you like. So
Hmm. Is there anything that you feel like they've pulled in here, like specifically from the Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla era that you're enjoying? Like, what I guess the RPG systems maybe harken a bit to that. But is there anything else that you feel like they've pulled in from that newer era of stuff that's actually working with the old Assassin's Creed 1, 2 style gameplay generally?
oh, that's a really good question. Um, hmm. Like, I mean, the combat system is
Yeah.
different, but still simplified. Um, the only things I can really take away from like Valhalla or Odyssey is just the sheer level of exploration and just going out,
Okay.
and like there's rivers, there's boats you can get, the naval combat stuff, which is not present here.
Mm.
Um, it just is again overwhelming, but I feel like Mirage has taken that, because I'll be out and about doing my own thing, and they're like, oh my god, there's a ton of snakes here I gotta fight off. Like, oh, I'm in this village, and all of a sudden the village, there's these bloody jaguars that are coming out of nowhere. Like, that's stuff that I like, and older Assassin's Creed games did not have wildlife like that.
Okay.
So that
Yeah.
would probably be it. That introduction came from Origins, and that's been represented since then.
Yeah.
And it makes the world much more dynamic while not feeling overwhelming with it being such a large map. I can
Right.
appreciate the
Changes
addition of
combat
wildlife.
too, just because you're gonna have to use
Yeah.
different styles against those types of enemies.
Hmm.
How's the city? Is it a good city? It's fun moving around and all that.
I'd say it's pretty spot on. Yeah, I'm
Nice.
driving with it, and just to kind of be more in the cityscape is so nice, because I feel like it's been a good minute. There, many of these past Assassin's Creed titles, it's been like villages and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and
A
just
bunch of smaller locations rather than one massive metropolis.
exactly. And I really feel like I can be an assassin in here, because when you're in the cities and you get these certain buildings, they're like, okay, well, they're high, so you can't climb up. You got to figure out and go into some alternative route to get
Oh,
in
okay,
here. And I
that's good.
really, yeah, it's very old school Assassin's Creed, and I appreciate that. And so when you're exploring these places and you can tackle different ways to handle a situation, which is something that I think Assassin's Creed Unity put in, where you have your main mission, your guy you got to assassinate, and you got to get into this base. So you can go and create a distraction with this guy over here, or there's a person over here that has a problem, and you could use him for a distraction. There's many different avenues to get into your target, and I like that. But the city itself is just really, really wonderful to explore. It's nice to just be going from rooftop to rooftop
Mm-hmm.
and just like hiding out up high and seeing the guards and stuff like that. I'm always down to just my play style is when I'm going into like a whole complex, I always hit the perimeter first and take out the guards on the walls, and then I
Nice.
kind of
Yeah.
go in from there. I always like to keep that high point because it's Assassin's Creed, but yeah, the city's just beautiful. I'm really, really enjoying it. And not that being said, it's not devoid of the flatter terrain. You have that out there. You can leave the cities. You can go out and there's smaller villages out there. When you do, I think they're called not enigmas. They're like a treasure trail basically. So you could find these scrolls, and the scrolls have like an image of a sketch drawing, and then you basically go here. And usually it's like an abandoned village onto the side of the map or whatnot, and you can get like weapon upgrades and armor upgrades and that sort of stuff. So
Mm-hmm. Nice. That's
yeah.
good. Yeah. How much? Because obviously the those recent 3 games, open world games, just littered with quest markers and a million things to do and a huge map and all that. How much like side content is there? Is there like side quests in this game? Is there like activities, or do you find yourself compelled to do that stuff if it's even there, or is it more focused and just like no, you're going through more linear story quest to quest?
There's there's a degree of linear in here for the narrative, but there's a wonderful amount of just side stuff. Like the other day when I was playing, I came up and I'm trying to do my why can I leap of faith. You
Yeah.
hit those synchronization towers to unlock more parts of the map so that you can
Okay. Yeah.
visually see. And this is just an Assassin's Creed staple. But I always, whenever I see like the eagle symbol, it's like, okay, we got to go there, we got to synchronize, and we can get
Yeah.
more of like the map unlocked. So I'm going up to one that I found in the city, and there's a boy up at the top, and it's like, oh, like quest started. And the like Bassam is talking to the boy, and the boy is like, I don't know if I can do this. Like I wanted to jump, and so you climb up there to talk to him. It's like, what are you doing up here? And he's like, well, I wanted to be a hidden one. They're real. I believe in them, but I'm too afraid to jump. And so Bassam is like, oh, if I do it, will you do it? And he's like, yeah, if I see you do it, I can do it. So you do the synchronization, you jump off the tower, and then you get out, and Bassam looks up and is like, okay, now it's your turn. Jump. And I'm thinking, man, like it's for its quest purposes, but you're telling this kid just to jump off
Yeah.
this
That's
tower and land in the
risky.
hay. Oh fuck, he could have broke his neck, but he does it successfully, and it was just a little quest. And I got an achievement for it. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I like that. This is
What if
super
that kid's the
random.
villain of the next game?
Oh god, I wouldn't put it past Ubisoft to do that. Good lord. But stuff like that I really appreciate, and the map, not the map, the menu to choose your quests, I really like it because it's like symbols, and you have characters' faces, and so where you have one character's face, you could be like a main Templar, no, not Templar, I guess it's Order of the Ancients that you're dealing with. So you have this one main head honcho bad guy, and then you'll see if you mouse over it clues that you have to unlock to assassinate him or get to do this main quest. You'll see other little things, symbols pop up around him that will eventually lead to like getting to that quest. And so you kind of just see these symbols, and you can mouse over and set a marker on the symbol like, okay, this is the quest I want to do, instead of seeing like Skyrim style where you see a list of all these quest names.
Yeah.
Like, where the fuck do I even start? So this is kind of nice because you can kind of gauge where and how like the flow of your questing is going throughout the narrative.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. But yeah, lots of side stuff. I'll go to a village and there's a guy tripping out like, oh, the demons got our village and we had to leave, and it's like, okay, well, I'm here to help.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Classic. You mentioned that you're building the bureaus right now. What does that mean?
So there's different from my knowledge, there's different bureaus, and it's just basically checking them out and just kind of like getting. You're not actually doing like the construction or building anything like that, not building mechanics, but it's just part of the quest where assassins are kind of branching out, and you're kind of just setting up shop. But inside the bureaus, you have characters that can give you your armor upgrades and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So
A little like outpost sort of situation.
Basically, yeah, and it's nice to see these bureaus back because it's very much an Assassin's Creed 1 thing where I remember playing that first game and you see like it's your home base, you're trying to get in there, but you can never walk in through a door. You always have to go through the roof. It's like a hole in the ceiling and the assassin symbols there. So that's a classic thing. They brought that back to get into the bureaus, which is fun.
Nice. Is there anything that you feel like is missing from those original games, that original Assassin's Creed 1, 2 style? Is there anything that just is lost in translation?
That's another really good question.
It's a good thing if you can't immediately be like, oh yeah, this basic mechanic is missing, or the stealth feels worse, or something like that. That's good.
I can't detect it. Like I find stealth is great. So many of those things, like it feels like I am playing one of those old Assassin's Creed games again. And with the smart play or whatever it is, when you boot it up and it's just ready to go, like when I turn the Xbox on and the game just boots up and Basim's just sitting down this corridor and the world's just the market, everyone's just moving around. I just look at him, man, this game is beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it just looks great in this world. But it feels like those old titles, but I can detect the advancements and the incorporations of those newer games. So
this might be a dumb question, but with the different settings and the presumably different time eras, like how is Basim in this game and in Valhalla? Or do they take place in the same like era or something? Am I missing something?
I want to say this,
or is it like Animus jank, like some weird magic?
No, like they're they were just alive at that point in time. Like this game, and Basim as a character was alive when Eivor the Viking was alive. It's just the time periods. They synced up, but I think it's only like 5 years, actually. I think I was looking into that too. I don't know what happens to Basim at the end of Valhalla because, again, Valhalla is the one that I did not roll credits on because I couldn't get past Asgard. I'm like, this is just too much for me. I can't do it. So, yeah. But this is his origins. This is how it started.
Okay, that's good. I mean, we're talking about how like similar this really is able to capture that original Assassin's Creed thing, which is why you bought an Xbox, which is why you one of your favorite game series, maybe your favorite individual game series. Like, where do you think that, like, it's a bit early, you haven't finished the game yet, but like, where do you think this is going to sit in your Assassin's Creed rankings? Like, is this shooting up to the top, or is like nostalgia just such a powerful drug that it's not going to be able to overtake some of those OG games? Like, what do you think?
I was telling Madison this. I don't know if it's like a little bit embarrassing, but there was a point in my life when video games were such a prominent part of my life that these characters and their stories really helped kind of guide me into who I wanted to be. And so when you see these characters and just the sincerity and the tribulations they go through, there's so much weight and so much feeling behind them, and those characters and that nostalgia is really important to me, especially when you're dealing with a character like Ezio and the things he's gone through. It's really resonated with me when I was growing up and looking and turning to him as a character and understanding him. So to one up that will be very difficult, and while I definitely need to see more of what happens with Basim, and there's going to be more loss for sure. It's just how it goes. But I don't want to say this could top Assassin's Creed 2 for me, because Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood and even Revelations, the whole trilogy is just so close to my heart. I do feel like this is at least a top do I say top 3? I don't know. It's definitely a top claim. 5.
It breaks past the new era, Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla. Well, I know you like Origins. Like, you're a big fan of Origins, right? It was more Odyssey and Valhalla that didn't do it for you. But
absolutely.
Sounds like it's kind of blazing past those, maybe past like the Unity Syndicate kind of sketchy era, which again, you still like all those games, but it sounds like it's kind of glazing past all those games at the very least.
It is gliding past all of those. And that being said, I wish that this had some sort of baseline multiplayer like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood
Yeah.
introduced. That was just the bee's knees. It was so
Yeah.
good.
That was such a pocket of time, right? Where like every game, like, a third person action game had some competitive shooter game. Like Uncharted had like competitive multiplayer. Tomb Raider, like that was such an era of time that, of course, Assassin's Creed was in that same pocket. It makes sense that they didn't do something like that for this game, but that's definitely a missing piece of the puzzle, I think, especially for something like this where maybe it is a bit more linear. You play through the story once, and then that's where you go afterwards. You go check out that multiplayer stuff, and then maybe years down the road you do a replay or you check out the DLC and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess that inherently is going to be like an element that this game maybe will be a bit more fleeting in that way. You'll play through it now, you'll complete it in a week or two, and then you might not like touch it again for a while until, I guess, DLC will probably do DLC for this thing.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see, I guess, in the long run how it's compared with this hub or whatever they're doing.
Oh
But
yeah,
like,
that Infinity, right? I think. Is what they call it.
yeah. And I mean, like DLC wise, it'll be interesting to see what they do with this game because usually they do a season of sorts and they have some really cool expansions
Yeah.
to
They
these
had a
titles.
lot
Valhalla.
of content in Valhalla at the very least. Yeah.
They did. They had a lot of content in Valhalla. It was quite something. But yeah, I think in terms of playing this one again and again and again, like yeah, like it depends how fast I guess they pump out that other one, the Japanese one that they're working
Yeah,
on.
Red and Hex is the one that I'm kind of tangentially interested in. That witch sort of aesthetic one.
I had another point I wanted to speak to, and I'm drawing a blank.
Was it about the
Shoot.
ranking? Was it about?
Oh, the multiplayer actually, yeah.
Okay,
I think
multiplayer.
it's really funny how a game like this is a great new introduction for new Assassin's Creed fans or people that just want to try out and get into this series. And they'll come across someone else in the gaming community and be like, "Oh, did you know Assassin's Creed used to have multiplayer?" I'm like, what? No, get out of here! Like, it's just such a fleeting thing that was only in a few select titles. And even with Unity, Unity didn't have the verses; it just had the co-op, which was absolutely wonderful. I only got to experience that for a limited amount of time with my friends, but being a group of 4 assassins in an open world and doing your missions together was so wonderful. So wonderful. So,
Yeah, I wonder if that, because like, what is it, Assassin's Creed, like, I don't know if it's called Green, but like the one set in China, which is like the mobile.
oh,
like,
Jade.
Jade. Yeah, like I don't know, like with that being a phone mobile game, sort of, I could see that one being like, this is the next like multiplayer focus. It seems like almost every Assassin's Creed is gonna be like very focused potentially from here on out. Of like, here's Mirage, it's more like that classic style. Here's Jade, maybe it's more multiplayer one. I don't know. There's still like not many series have this many games announced like coming out, so there's really a lot you could speculate on. But yeah, I wonder if they'll ever do one that would be focused on multiplayer, because like I don't know, if they do another Mirage style one, like I don't really expect that multiplayer would be one of those things that they would think to include in there as a big sequel thing. Feels like that was very much just that era of 360 PS3 games.
It was, and I don't see Mirage getting a direct sequel. I could see them doing a big expansion pass, and it's set like 20 years in the future or something like that with older Elder Basim. But I see this as just being a one and done, a great tribute to the original iterations of this franchise, and just kind of really bring people back down to earth. The fact that they did it, I mean, I'm not expecting Ubisoft to be listening, but I was complaining left, right, and center when people asked, like, oh, it doesn't feel like Assassin's Creed anymore, it feels like this. And then lo and behold, here's a game that is built for you. You grew up with Assassin's Creed, now here's Mirage. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, in that way, like I feel it's a bit too soon, but like I'm very curious what the legacy of this game is gonna be. I feel like it hasn't lit the roof on fire. Like I feel like it hasn't just blown people away in a general sense. But then are the hardcore fans like you that are just very happy to have an OG type Assassin's Creed game. But then again, it's always hard to fight with nostalgia and what those characters mean to you. I love what you said earlier. It was very beautiful and eloquent, and how like just you were at a different place in your life, and like it's hard to, for like, even if this game is slightly better than those games maybe mechanically, it's hard to like compete with just where you were in your life at that point in time. So
no, absolutely.
So yeah, I'm really curious, because I would imagine Assassin's Creed Red, the Japan one, is going to be back to open world, Odyssey, Valhalla sort of style. I don't know. Like I feel like that Hex one could be smaller scale as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they could just blow it up, make it a big open world one too. Jade, like, I don't know. I'm not gonna say who cares. It's a mobile one, but like personally, who cares? Like for me personally, and then yeah, obviously Infinity is more kind of connecting all of them. I think that's it for the announcements, right? There isn't another one that we know of, right?
Yeah, no, that is it for now. Yeah, just the three, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You meant you when you were talking there, you jogged my memory of another component of this game. The thing that I really really loved in the newer iterations from Origins onwards was the enhancement of your eagle vision and how you actually have an eagle. And so before, if I remember with Origins and Odyssey, it was if you wanted to highlight and use your eagle vision, you just had your eagle and you fly your eagle around and you could highlight the characters, the villains and the bad guys around you and your targets, and they would glow. When you come out of eagle vision, they'd be glowing still on your third person view. And that was a really cool dynamic that they changed. But you weren't able to just hit a button and go into your eagle vision like the old school Assassin's Creed titles, where the world would turn like thermal and then your target would be glowing red. Now, I apologize because I do not remember how they did with Valhalla, and I'm confident they didn't do it with Odyssey, and I know they didn't do it with Origins. But in this, I love the combination because I can activate my eagle vision and the world goes thermal and my targets all go red and everything like that, and it's great. But if I want, I can use my other eagle vision where I can take control of my eagle up above in the sky, and I can fly around and I can highlight target things and everything like that, which is really, really nice. And that's one of my favorite things that they added in those new titles. So to have that in a nice mesh of the two features combined in this game is really nice.
Is there an advantage to using the eagle then at this point, or is it really just there for people who now like that style of scouting and want that? Because it feels to me like, wouldn't you just click a button and that be way better and quicker?
You would,
and easier?
but it's and I'm glad that you asked that because they've actually made it so with your old school eagle vision, the range isn't forever.
The
so
eagle
it's
can
close.
go wherever. And
the eagle can go wherever. Eagle can fly up high. You can like hover, and then you can zoom down. And you can see everything going on. But with with the other eagle vision, I find like I'm used to it, so I will keep like clicking it. It deactivates when you start sprinting and running and whatnot. But it has situations where you use it, and then you won't necessarily be in range to see guards out in the distance, but your eagle can do that. So
gotcha. Anything else that we haven't mentioned yet about Mirage? Obviously, you haven't quite finished it yet. When you're on Sidequest next, definitely curious to hear how you feel about the ending and some of the later game stuff. But anything else?
Yeah, this is definitely one I'm gonna roll credits with. But it's got the wanted system in here, which is great. That's something that was in Brotherhood that they, or even maybe Assassin's Creed 2. Wasn't in the first Assassin's Creed, but that's another thing that I really like. So different cities have different wanted levels, and you could just pull posters down to lower your wanted levels. You can pay guys to talk differently about you, and so that'll bring your wanted level down a little bit, which is kind of
that's cool. I really like that.
Yeah, and I like the interaction too. They have these tokens that do certain things. I find it kind of annoying because I'm having trouble not always finding these tokens, but certain tokens for certain groups of characters. And these groups of characters can start a fight with guards in the city randomly for you. They can create distractions for you so you can make your escapes or do other things in certain areas you're not supposed to be. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, just the trying to acquire these tokens is kind of difficult, I noticed. What else is there? Lots of like cool loot chests and stuff like that you have to really think about, like, I got to pick up this explosive vase and put it over by this wall and throw a throwing knife, blow up the vase, it blows the wall up, and then I can get to this chest down below. So there's a cool out of the box thinking in certain areas. What else is there? Yeah.
Pretty much covered it. I don't want to get your hopes up that I'm gonna jump into this series, but if I were, I think I would skip one. I feel like I'd go to like one of the best games in the series, just because I don't know if I'd go through the whole series. Would this be a good one to jump in on, or should I go back and check out 2? Black Flag is definitely on my backlog. I really want to check that one out for the pirate element of it. But like, Where should I go? Someone who's dabbled a little bit in Origins, but is ultimately like just not really storied on this series at all.
Black Flag is absolutely like, yeah, I'm so
Good
glad it's
place
on
to
your
start,
list.
actually. That one, yeah.
I don't know if it's a good place to start.
Hmm.
Well, like the story it stands out on its own. It's a very it's an isolated story. There's a lot of world, and there's some new elements that are introduced that can be like a little far fetched, if that makes sense. But you can still kind of follow along. Uh, but the characters are great. There's certain developments that happen in that story where I was really connected with those characters and feeling for them. But it's definitely something you should play. I don't know if you should jump in at that one. Each title they really try to recreate Assassin's Creed 2 where this character is not in the order and he just joins in. That's how Assassin's Creed Unity kind of was. Syndicate wasn't really like that, although Syndicate in the time period switching between Evie and Jacob Fry was really, really fantastic. I like that. But if you were to jump in, I'd probably say Assassin's Creed 2.
Still there.
I feel like, yeah, I just feel like that one story wise it just holds up, and I feel like gameplay, it's simple combat mechanics and simple gameplay, but it does it really, I mean, it does it for me, and maybe that's the nostalgia talking. But if you I wouldn't suggest Brotherhood and Revelations, as great as those ones are, without playing Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah,
and if
right.
you really weren't feeling Assassin's Creed 2, then this would easily be my next suggestion over all the other ones. This one for sure.
Well, I think I imagine every game in the series is back compat on Xbox, so maybe I'll add a couple to my wish list, and when there's a nice sale, I'll pick up 2 or Black Flag or this game at some point, or Ubisoft Plus. I guess I could check out for a month or something like that.
Yes, absolutely. I think they're on there. They did a Assassin's Creed 2 remaster, which I actually wanted to get, although people did say that it felt like underwhelming. I think it was the Ezio collection or something like that. And they did.
Yeah, I think they did
Creed
something like
3
that. They brought it
remake.
to Switch, but I don't think I'd want to play these games on Switch.
No. Yeah, definitely not. I know they remastered 3, and I think there was talks about Black Flag getting a remastered version or something like that too. I think so.
They
Yeah,
should do that. Cool. Well, this is a really fun discussion to have, and yeah, thank you for joining me. And once again, anyone, if you have any questions, thoughts, comments for Spider-Man 2 review for Kirkland and Travis over there, send it our way, whether that's a YouTube comment or you can drop it in a review, join our Discord, whatever you want to do. We will find it and include it in that discussion. But thank you everyone for listening. We will see you again next time. Bye-bye.